Hi guys, welcome back to LR Live, and in today's episode we are going to be looking at removing the spare wheel carrier on the rear door, ready to install our new Mantec swing-away wheel carrier in the next few episodes. And while we're at it, we're going to be fitting some Exmoor trimmed rear hinges, which are specifically built to accommodate that swing-away wheel carrier. And while we're there, we're also going to fit a gas assist strut on the interior. So let's go. So removing the rear wheel obviously is no tricky thing to do. You just have to remove obviously the wheel nuts on there, but actually getting the plate off the door itself means we're going to have to remove the interior door card. This has had quite a new door card fitted, so that should come off very easily. Then we'll remove the nuts on the inside, take the wheel carrier off. We'll have a little look as well to make sure the rear motor's working on the windscreen wiper while we've got all that open. I haven't tried it yet and it is pushed up against the wheel there, so we'll make sure that's working all okay. And then obviously the hinges have got to be looked at. Now, because we're in a county station wagon, we have got all this interior trim, so we're going to have to be careful because that is very expensive to replace. We don't want to damage any of that. So first thing to tackle is we'll get that rear wheel off and start taking the panel off to get access to the wheel carrier. So this aftermarket door card is quite a nice bit of kit, to be fair. It's all moulded and it looks like the original. It's just fitted quite simply with some self tappers. The only thing I'd say is try and get some Dynamat, some soundproofing on the inside, just so it doesn't sound quite so, not tinny, but sort of plasticky on the door. So I was going to say the first thing to check obviously is make sure you've got power going to the unit itself, and we don't. So there's no power. So it looks to me, for some reason, that's supposed to connect, and it's no way it's going to do that because it's been sort of tucked away into the body by the looks of things. I might just extend this plug, the wires on that plug, and extend them so they reach, and then I'm pretty sure that'll work, if I'm honest. So the only tricky part of this job is if you're on your own, you've obviously got to get one hand one side, one hand the other side. Okay, all of those came off no problem at all. The only one we've got to struggle with a little tiny bit is there's one just hidden away behind the mounting bracket for the wiper, but we can just reverse the tools, get that in there. So we just pull this off here. We'll have to remove these as well. Wiper arms off. Got this retaining nut there off. Now there's a chance we might have to take these rivets out and re-rivet it, because it might not pass over the bracket, but we'll have a go just to see if we can do that. There we go. So you can see the bracket here we've got. Now this plate needs to pull all the way through. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to go through there. What we'll do is we'll just bend it up out of the way, I think, if we can. There we go. There we go. So all this glue in here, look, that's what was holding it in. So this rear trim here, just literally, if you can push it in slightly and it'll unclip fairly easily. It's just got these clips here and here, so that's a nice easy job. Now we're going to do what we did with the front door hinges, or the side door hinges as well. We're going to do one hinge at a time. You're lucky because obviously you've got 3 on the rear door, so it shouldn't move around too much. And if you're lucky, the bolts won't spin on the hinge on the outside because they've got a really annoying crosshead on the other side. So the instructions are pretty good actually with the Exmoor trim stuff, and it's fairly easy to work out which packer spacer washers or mounting washers you need, and then it tells you obviously the size of the bolts you're using. So we're just going to offer that up now. So it's a little bit tricky, but if you can just get your hand in between the gap of the door or over the top, you should have enough room just to get a nut on there and get your hand on the bolt to stop it pushing back. Put that in place. And then we'll just start by trying to get the top bolt in. Just have to lift the door slightly and then pull it into place. There we go. Now, it's not through yet, and that one's not through either. So I'm going to have to push the door in. There we go. So I'm really lifting the door up and wrangling it to try and get it to line. Now that's going to be caught on the door skin itself, and we can use that to actually thread it in place. I'd rather do it up from the inside, I think, because less chance of slipping and damaging those lovely hinges. We have a hinge in place. It's looking really good. Wow, looking too good. Okay. Okay, there's one. Wow, that does not want to come out. Whew. Now these two, the same as the bottom two, are on a captive plate. So that means two things. You're definitely going to have to attack them from the outside, and you're going to have to use some penetrating oil on the back just to free them up because they're pretty rusty. We'll try and see if they're going to move. No. Now I'm going to try and use some vice grips on these. I don't want to damage the door or the bodywork. I'm not bothered about the hinge. That one's gone. And you can see it's rusty as hell, and what's happened is the actual nut has come away from the captive plate. So yeah, I had to use a bit of brute force, I'm afraid, to break that away from the plate itself, but once that was away, it's worked. That was the only way it was coming out, was to be pulled out. Now what's worrying me, if that was like that, I dread to think what that one's going to be like, because that is exposed to some serious grime. It's strange, isn't it? Because when you're doing jobs like this and you're fitting such nice parts, you just sort of makes you cry having to put it on a vehicle with such a rotten door. But you know, at the end of the day, we can't do everything, most of us, all at once. It's just impossible financially. So the good thing about this is, if tackling this hinge on here, even though the door needs treating, it's so much easier to remove than the originals, and so I'm quite happy to put them on, get them all lined up, get them in place, get everything sorted, and then if I want to replace the door or have the door refurbished, it's just quite a simple job of getting those off. So I'm not too worried, because we're not painting them or anything like that just at the moment. I'm happy to put them on the vehicle as it is, and you know, I don't think many of us have an option to do otherwise. You know, if you're going to do a full restoration, okay, you can lay your vehicle up for 6 months, but this is a working restoration. You know, we use this vehicle all the time, so at the end of the day, it's got to be usable straight away. This bottom hinge here is actually accessed through the back of the vehicle here. There's a plastic sort of muck cover, if you like, which is actually damaged on mine. It's split, but I can get access to those. I've got a feeling, just feeling it, it doesn't feel like there's a captive plate on there, and if there is, it's very corroded. So I'm going to try and go in there now with a spanner or a socket and just try and pop those 13mm nuts off the back. Okay, I'm on one of them, on the bottom one. Oh, you can see that it's actually turning on the outside here. The only thing I can do, vice grip it and use both hands. Vice grip's locked. It's coming. I don't know what I'd do without those vice grips, you know. Such a good bit of kit. Thank God. Well, that was nasty. Now, we don't want you prolapsing on camera, so. Yeah. Oh, nice. There you go. Now it's just really hard work. Now the real hard work starts. I think I'm doing most of the work up here. Did it come off? Yeah, it broke. Well done. Yeah, look at that. You want to keep that as a souvenir?
No, thanks.
Steve, I can't thank you enough. I shall put your name in the credits.
No, thanks.
Okay, we are off. So, as I said before, that's the hardest one of them all. It really is. Where the steel hinges have been corroding away at that aluminium. That's a shame. I might just tap that back. It's swollen slightly, so I might tap it with the hammer. offer the hinge up. There we go. Not too tight because we need a bit of movement. If you get them through the hinge first, you've got a much better chance of getting them through those holes. So I'm just holding it now on the back and tightening it up. So we've got one more job to do before we go to the next episode to fit that swing away wheel carrier, and that is to fit our gas strut. So you only have to undo the 2 innermost screws on each handle, and then we can locate the plate in there first. So I've put the retaining plate on the back, and I'm actually quite surprised how sturdy that is. So that's good. These haven't been tightened up fully, so I'm going to loosen these, and that's where you mount your plate in the shape there, so it fits perfectly. Then we've just got the gas strut to fit, so it's a pretty easy operation. So let's go ahead and get it done. On these rear hinges that come from Exmoor, I didn't use the washers they supplied to go through the doors with because it wouldn't have reached, the bolt wouldn't have reached the nylock nut, and the originals don't come with washers anyway. But on top of that, clearly I'm not going to use them on the top because we've got this plate to fit and it's quite thick. So pop that in place there. I've got to be honest, this is a much easier job than I imagined, fitting this gas strut. It's nice that you haven't got to take the trim off if you don't want to. We basically got a hole here, and that's how you connect them, and that's a smaller one there. That's how I'm going to do it. Underneath, I'm thinking. Let's close the door a little bit. So 13 to hold the nut underneath, and then just tighten it up on top. Okay. Now, it's in place. Let's see if it works. Shuts great. If I open it, I like the fact that it doesn't just bang open without breaking. So it's nice that it's got a little brake at the end to stop it opening. So yeah, it's really easy. This bit's really easy. There's no gas strut assistance there. It's when you get beyond that point there, look, where it opens up. And it brakes itself, which is what I really like. So it doesn't slam into a small child's face. So yeah, that's it. Defenders are great because you can work on them like a Meccano kit. That's what everybody says, and it's absolutely true. You know, there's a lot of work you can do yourself, but you have got to be prepared to work on those nuts and bolts because these vehicles are 20 years old. They're working vehicles. They've been in grime, they've been in mud, sand, everything. So, you know, you really are going to get a fight every now and then on some of those bolts, but just stick with it. Don't underestimate the benefit of using some penetrating oil. You know, just get as much on there as you can, and obviously get it on as early as you can before you tackle the job to make sure it gets in there and works, because you know, that's finished me off now. I can't do any more on this today, but luckily that is the end. So we've got the hinges on, they've gone on really well. And as I said before, I'm not too worried that they're going on to some sort of fairly poor components, like the door is a little bit knackered, because they're so easy to remove now that when we need to refurbish the door, we can do it quite easily. As far as the gas strut goes, I can't really say enough about that because it's such a good little bit of kit for the price. Now, I have featured this in a video before when we did Tricked Out Tuesday a while back. I haven't fitted one, but now I've fitted it, I'm just like, why wouldn't you have one on your vehicle? It makes so much sense. It's fairly inexpensive, and I just really like the fact that not only does it help the door open, but it stops it blowing shut. You know, when you're unloading your vehicle and the wind is catching this door and it's just blowing it, that is not going to happen anymore. And also, I like the way it's braked. So when the gas strut opens the door, it slows itself down at the end. So if you have got somebody the other side of that door and they're not ready for it to be opened, it's not going to take them off their feet. And again, it's just a simple close, get to there, and it shuts. I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you have one of those? So definitely check that out. As always, all these parts that are fitting onto the vehicle is going to be listed in the description below, so you can check those out. There's a direct link to LR Parts if you want to buy any of those yourself. So yeah, please do come back if you enjoyed the video today. Do give me a thumbs up and do subscribe if you haven't already, because you'll miss some really nice content coming out of the next few weeks. We still have Exmoor trim visit coming up, which is going to show you all the behind the scenes stuff and some of the prototype products they're making for 23 and 24. We're going to be fitting the loom for the heated windscreen very soon, and the mirrors, and we've got the Mantec swing away wheel carrier to be fitted. So plenty to look at, but for now, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you on the next one.